What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to show you all the different reverbs and delays I have set up in my template for mixing vocals. And what we'll do is we'll go through the different ones I use and why I use them, and then talk about when you would use certain ones for different emotions that you're trying to convey in a mix. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so in my template, I have 8 different effects set up, ready to go all the time. And the reason is I like to be able to grab different, colors or sounds I have in my head and turn them on really quick to get the sound I'm going after. So let's run through the effects really quick. The first one is a room, and I use the FabFilter Pro R for that. Just really, tight space, nothing too crazy. Then the next one is a slap delay, and I use the FabFilter Timeless 3 for that. The third one is this micro. Now, micro is a little more complicated, and with that, it's a micro shift into a compressor, and then we're filtering out some of the low end too. So a few things going on for that micro, and that just, adds width and stuff. And I'll play all these different effects separately in a second. I just figured I'll go through them really quick first. Next is GP, which used to be the gold plate, and now I've been using the Valhalla Vintage Verb, and this is just a plate setting I really like. After that is Capital, and Capital, if you don't know, is the Capital chamber. So this is a chamber reverb, a different kind of color than plate, and we'll hear that in a second. And then next is just a quarter note delay. Once again, I'm using Timeless 3. I think I've switched back to H delay for this, but in this session, it's Timeless 3. So, all these are just interchangeable. And as you'll see, I have different delays and halls set up for different settings. And so you can, have a hall, but have 4 different halls and switch them out and see which ones you like. So never hard set to what it is. So yeah, quarter note, and then Valhalla, it's always nice having this. This gives me a sound. And then on this hall, I have Seventh Heaven, which is a Berklee emulation, which is a well-known hardware reverb. And it's a bit cleaner compared to the Valhalla, which is more of a modulated reverb sounding hall. So those are the sounds. Now let's just go through and play this really quick, and I'll turn each one on so you can hear it.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
So that's just dry, and then this is the room.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
And so that will always be on usually. I usually have these first 3 on every vocal. And this is just to give me some width and dimension. So the room, you won't really hear it.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling?
But you definitely hear it when I turn it off. And that's the idea of these first 3. Next is a slap. Let me turn it.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
And I basically just turn it on and off and turn it up and down until I barely hear it, and then that's usually where it's perfect. Micro is just more width.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
And that's got a chorusy kind of width sound. So all 3 of these sound great.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
So when I turn all 3 of those off, you might not hear it as they're all turned off, but you definitely lost a bunch of dimension and width and goodness, I guess you could call it, that was there with all 3 of them. After those 3, we move into kind of the emotional effects. So for this song, are we looking for a big long reverb? Are we looking for a short plate just to add some, energy and space around the vocal, but we don't want it to intrude too much in the actual music, where, a lot of times if you have a lot of reverb on something, it can make the whole mix sound muddy. So you always got to be careful when adding reverbs. Is this going to make the mix muddy, or is it actually adding to the emotional connection of the song? So here's usually a go-to is just a nice plate, and it's, if we bring it up, it's a really quick 1.19 seconds. So pretty fast decay on this, no pre-delay. And then, we're filtering at the top. This we'll usually do to taste. A lot of times we're cutting some of these low end, but this can add some space in the vocal and sometimes be just enough for a song. So,
girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
So let's play with the music now. Let's play this whole line. By the way, this is my buddy Trip Carter. Make sure to check him out on Apple Music.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in?
So that's just with our 3 effects. Now let's bring the plate in and see how that changes things.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
So by adding that plate, to me, it just kind of opens him up a bit more. I feel more like connected with what Trip's saying. And that's what's great about, using certain reverbs. Now let's try it with a capital instead and see how that changes the emotional connection.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting?
So for that one, it feels like a little too big of a space for this kind of emotional breakdown part of this song. So that one wouldn't work. And that's why I like to have all these set up, because I might not use all these every mix, but I can go through them really quick and be like, nope, that's not working. Oh, that's working. And sometimes you might surprise yourself, would be like, a long haul is not going to work for this section, but maybe it will. And that's what's good about having multiple reverbs kind of ready to go when you're mixing. Now, another thing you can throw on sometimes is a quarter note delay, and that can add some dimension and width and excitement, but it doesn't take up nearly as much of the mix space as a reverb does. So let's check it out with a quarter and see if that works.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Faking love when we ain't had it.
So that actually sounds pretty good. And with a reverb, with a delay, you can change it. Like I already have this filtered down, but you could filter this more. And the more high end you take out, the more it will get out of the way of the vocal. So let's check it out like that.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
So that sounds really good. Even with the same amount of delay, filtering it down so it's not taking up too much more of the high-end energy sounds good and it fits well. So maybe using that in the plate could be perfect for this mix. So let's check out with the 2 of those.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Faking love.
So I'm sure you guys heard it when I took those off, the vocal just kind of sounded a bit flat, but with those, we're moving and you feel like you're floating with Trip through the song. Let's now try the Valhalla reverb and see how that sounds.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Faking love when we ain't had it, asymptomatic.
So the plate, the hall's not too bad. If it was a sound that maybe Trip's going for, he wants it to be more angel-like sounding maybe, then maybe that hall could work. Also, sometimes I'll turn that hall on and bring it way down, much like the room, and add that with maybe the plate and the delay, and that could just add a little more movement, especially with a modulated reverb that we might not have. So let's try turning the plate back on with the quarter note, and just bring this Valhalla down a bit and turn it on and off.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Faking love when we ain't had it, asymptomatic. Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we?
So that's an option. It might work, it might not. I kind of like it without it, but maybe it works. Now, maybe the modulation hall is too much. So we could bring up this Seventh Heaven, which is an amazing sounding reverb, and doesn't really modulate. It's a much cleaner sounding reverb.
Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Faking the love when we ain't had it, asymptomatic. Girl, who were we fooling, wasting time in hell? Blazing and firing, feeling empty, chasing unhappy. Who were we fooling, wasting time in hell?
That sounds pretty good. So having that little bit of the haul just extended a bit more. So we brought down the quarter note a bit, and then the plate, the pitch shifter, the slap delay, and the reverb. That's 6 effects we're using just on one vocal, but it together it really conveys the emotional, part of the song we're trying to convey. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Having a bunch of effects ready to go can really A, speed up your workflow, and B, give you a lot of options to try, and also a lot of options you might not have tried without having this already set up. So it's kind of a good reason to have a template set up for when you're mixing, that you have all your options ready. It's kind of like having your guns ready to draw, or whatever you want to call it. Let me know what you guys think, what kind of reverbs you're using, what kind of delays you're using. I'd love to hear some of the effects you use, some of your favorite plugins you use. If you need your songs mixed or mastered, hit me up at mixandmastermysong.com. You can also find my courses and presets there too. Talk to you soon.